What episode number are we? All right, welcome in to episode 125 of the Barely Educated Podcast. Mark, joined as always by Chris. We're here to talk about the Bears, which is a football team, but we don't ever actually get to talk about football because the Bears are always doing something crazy during the week. And yeah, Chris, with that, how are you?
I'm okay. Two big car repair payments in a row. That's always fun, but otherwise, fine. Nice day. I watched some good football or decent football last night, so it'll cancel out what we see Sunday. That's how I look at it.
I don't know if that game's the game to cancel it out, but it
It
was
just
at
might
least
be.
close. Yeah, so I mean,
Anyway,
there's so much to deal with the Bears this week. They had another one of those weeks
yeah.
of the 23 season where you're like, boy, what's happening on the field isn't really the story at all. I don't even know what to talk about with the on-field stuff. They got pantsed by the Chargers, and Matt Eberflus gets destroyed by good quarterbacks. What else
Yes.
is new? And we
Yeah.
can talk about the broadcast later if there's time, but I think we need to jump to the deadline and then the firing of a coach again
Sounds good to
mid-season. I
me.
mean, this is very strange. Well, let's proceed with what we know, which is that the Bears did trade for an edge rusher
Yes, they did.
and did not trade Jalen Johnson.
For which I'm relieved.
What are your thoughts on that combination of moves?
Well, I'm glad that the Bears still have Jalen Johnson, but I wonder if that relationship is damaged just based on some of the stuff he said, Jalen said, and also Poles. He sounds like he loves Jalen and wants to keep him, but there was a huge gap in what they wanted to offer and what Jalen thinks he's worth. So where is that coming from? Is that something that can be uh, met? So I'm glad he's still with the Bears, but I'm pessimistic he will still be with the Bears next season. On the other hand, Montez Sweat is a weird name, but good player, very good player. Um, Definitely a need. The Bears have had no pass rush, so that's definitely an upgrade. But right now, there's nothing. He's not on contract past this year, so is Poles going to be able to extend him? He said they're going to work on it, but Sweat, the way he talked, and maybe he was just overwhelmed because everything happened so fast, but he said that, oh, he wants to keep his options open and he doesn't even know where he's putting his head tonight and stuff like that. So my biggest fear is that we'll lose two big players after this year, at this year's trade deadline. Does that make sense?
Of course, it's the Bears.
Yeah,
Just as likely
exactly.
as doing the right thing is them doing the dumbest thing possible.
The Bears.
It's a strange time as a fan. Like it last year is like, okay, we're tanking, they're rebuilding. Why are we not supporting Justin Fields better? I don't really love this plan with the second year quarterback, but otherwise everything else lined up with that plan. This year you're like, okay, well, where's the step forward? We're tanking again? Okay, the quarterback still struggles. He's way too methodical. If things are too slow, he's got to get the ball out. Nothing has changed there. Hey, look at those two games. Okay. Oh, he's hurt. Then it's okay. So we're gonna sell at the deadline. Oh man, they're gonna lose Jalen. He's like their best defensive player. You idiots. Oh, they didn't lose Jalen. Wait, we bought at the deadline? Like it's
What?
confusing. Even though I don't have anything against Montez Sweat the
No.
player, I'm not sure the Bears should be in the interest of trading second round picks. But then the logic is something like we will need an edge rusher in the offseason. Rashawn Gary's already been extended. Last year at this time, we were signing Elton Jenkins and Javon Hargrave. We saw how that worked out. So, bird in the hand, right? They go ahead and get the player, and hopefully they figure out the extension because there's no guarantee he'd get to the market. And he definitely doesn't get to the market if someone else trades for him. So they didn't want to be left with a weak market, but it just seems weird how bad they are that they did it again, giving up a second round pick that's going to be in the 35-ish pick range.
Hmm. Like
right?
Claypool
But
last year, yeah.
they have to extend him now, so they have
Right,
no leverage there.
right, yeah. So
Like it's all very strange. And that's nothing against the player.
right,
I just I don't know what the plan is.
Yeah, I think that
It has to be that they
best.
wanted to get him because they thought there'd be no one available. That's the only way it makes any sense.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but no. I was just saying that best sums it up. What is the plan? What is the big picture here? Because they have no business buying at this point this year. They're going to be bad. Is Sweat going to want to, as a free agent, is he going to want to look for a contender? There's no guarantees that he'd want to stick around. Jalen, did you burn that bridge? So,
Fair
I,
question. And I think
yeah,
Sweat's comments, I think you're right. Like, don't worry about what he said. He's just like he landed like an hour before that.
right,
It's like
yeah,
or whatever. It's up to his agent and polls anyways. He's just gonna sign off on whether it'll be he's only involved at the end.
yeah.
Jalen stuff is the other big story.
Hmm.
It seems like we're missing too much info still. What's the number he wants?
Right, right.
And we're not to the final offers yet, so why are we all so upset? Or why is he so upset? I love Jalen. I'm definitely pro Jalen more than I'm pro team polls.
Right.
I mean, I was all ready to joke on here. King Holes does it again if they traded Jalen.
You can still go there.
Because we got to keep young players with this much talent. It, I don't care who drafted him.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is
And
like,
it's a good position. It's not a middle linebacker.
yes, right, right. Oh yeah. Why do you spend all that money on a middle linebacker when you have this young cornerback, a greater position of need, a more premier position, which I didn't used to think so, but now I definitely have done a 180 on that. So cornerback is definitely a premier. Is he like a Sauce Gardner or top tier Jair Alexander? Uh, Hard to say because other teams don't throw to him. So isn't that like a
Which has a
big
ton of value, just that
right?
alone.
Exactly. That's what I mean. He doesn't have the numbers, but again, you can't pick the ball off if you're not being thrown at. But so maybe his two interception game just came at the worst time. Maybe he's. See, look what I can be if I get the opportunity to make plays. Here's what I can do.
But you do wonder
So
that, like, would it have been better if he hadn't, kind of.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. I think it's also pretty remarkable, and to his credit, there's a lot of things I think are to hit Jalen's credit, but he's playing really well miscast in this system on a certain level
Mm,
too,
mm.
which brings back the the two topics, right, that we can never seem to get away from, one of which brings to mind who's the coach moving forward? How is that going to play out? Because if you're keeping Eberflus, do you want to give
Go,
Jalen 20 million?
go.
And if you're keeping Eberflus for another year, isn't it stupid and short-sighted not to keep good players? Because isn't he a lame duck eventually? God,
I,
that's a different conversation that has been brought up this week because of the press conference.
yeah,
But to try
yeah.
to stick to Jalen for a second, as I know I'm the one who brought that up, but
Okay.
if he wants top five money, it's a little different conversation. If he wants 8 to 12 money, then it should get done. You see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And availability is the probably the real like
Right.
hang up for polls.
Yep. He misses at least 2, 3 games every year, right? Maybe
Yeah.
four.
Right, right.
Right. Right. Right. Right.
Anytime
Right.
anyone
Right.
says that,
Right.
I do it too. And I'm like, oh no, we're all Eberflus.
Oh.
So I'm glad they didn't trade him because I like him a lot and I want him to be a Bear long term. And I hope it plays out like I was talking to cousin Nate,
Doesn't he? Hello,
and
cousin.
he brought up the Kyle Fuller situation
Mm.
where they didn't get the deal done. They slapped on the transition tag, and then they did get the deal done. Or that he almost went to Green Bay,
Yeah.
but they
Yeah.
matched.
Green Bay basically negotiated. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, you have the franchise tag as long as you don't have to use it on Sweat. So I feel like it's oddly contingent now, these two moves stuck together.
Yes. Yes.
Meanwhile, they extended Andrew Billings. It's like,
Yeah.
wait,
That.
what? I like him. He's played well. He deserves a little stability. Not a bad deal.
Mm-hmm.
He'd
Mm-hmm.
transition really well to a 3-4 if necessary, right? He could be a nose in a 3-4.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that move, and I couldn't help but have a hard time not filtering that move through the JJ lens. I don't think it affects Sweat. He just got here, but is Poles on some level saying, "See, I can extend someone on the defense." But I
See,
don't really know. I mean, that's just I'm spitballing and having fun with it. There's no way to
uh,
tell. And then the other question that I have about all this with the extensions is I have praised Poles in the past for not being reckless, right? Like that's the one thing I think he's good about. And
mhm.
otherwise, I'm kind of out on him, to be honest.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, he's good at talking to the media, way better than his coach is at talking to the media. But is are we in a world yet? Are we to a point yet where his caution is a problem? Like, okay, nope, I've got my number and I'm committed to it. Yeah, okay, but sometimes you got to overpay just a little to keep talent. Is that fair, or we need to see how this plays out? But I just kind of wonder if he's too rigid about it.
I think it's definitely a legitimate cause for concern because it hasn't. He has. Who are the young players he has committed to? Komet, like yeah, oh okay, he's a solid tight end, but he's not a top five tight end, is he? Top 10, maybe. He's a definite red zone threat, but
Productivity wise, he's he's
yeah,
he's pretty close to top five. Yeah.
yeah. But I think Jalen's a better corner than Komet is a tight end, but I know that's not a 1-to-1 there, but outside of Komet, who else has it? With all this money? He's got all this money the last 2 years to work with, and he's still sitting on it.
Like it's a
You know?
noble goal to want the contracts to be on team friendly terms and to
Yeah.
have a number and want to hold to it, but you do have to give a little.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not convinced he does. Even the
Yeah.
biggest deal he signed, Edmonds, it's not really like this big break the bank thing, and that's a
Mm-hmm.
good thing because
Yes.
he's a linebacker and it's stupid to pay them that much to begin with. So at least it wasn't something you could never recover from.
You watch your
But
mouth,
like,
man. We're the
okay, what
Bears. We have
happens?
linebackers.
What happens in a few years when you've got to extend Marvin Harrison? He's still the GM. Like you know what I mean? Like at some point, that yeah, the money gets uncomfortable because they have some agency. I don't know. I just think it's still like to be evaluated,
I
and
agree.
that applies to a lot of stuff with polls. And so I don't quite understand the people who are like madly in love with him.
Yeah, I was ready to be done.
Like,
If
what's he
Jalen
done?
if Jalen had been traded, I would have been 100% done with polls. Now I'm like 92, maybe. Like, all right, how can you
Okay,
redeem
so
yourself
A
here?
minus
Yes.
done.
Yeah. Because of
And I
those
think
things.
that kind of
And did he have anything to
what
do with the theorized leaks to Chris Collinsworth in the Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football booth about what they were saying about Tyson Bagent and Justin Fields? Was
polls? I
Poles
don't
in on
think
that?
so. They don't really meet the GMs. They
I
meet the
hope not.
coaches, right?
I hope not.
So at first on that topic, I thought, you know, Sunday Night Football loves their narratives and they're just really dumb and they just like go
Yeah, yeah.
ballistic with their narratives.
Really
And it was
dumb.
just as likely to me that all the Bagent love was just, oh my gosh, Shepherd University and Division II, and look at him now, and oh, he's so good. Look at this. Oh, what a throw. It's like, guys, there were like three or four good throws, three or four bad throws, and he looked like a rookie QB, like any other rookie QB. And then they dropped the line that the coaches will want Fields to study him. And
Yeah.
once I saw that it was that specific, because by that point in the game, I was just kind of like not listening that much. And when I saw the direct quotes later, like Monday morning, I was like, oh, that does seem a little different than just
Hmm.
falling all over themselves for their own narrative.
Did
Because
they?
he didn't say if I was a coach or if I was someone trying to help Justin Fields improve, I'd tell him to watch Bagent. He said the coaches will have him watch Bagent.
Hmm.
See, now that's some bull.
Yes, he
And
did.
that's where you wonder if he's getting that from them. Which, by the way, I would love for Fields to learn Bagent's footwork. Fields
Yes.
is just too methodical. Everything takes way too long. He doesn't have hardly anything else Bagent can teach him. Just to be
Yeah,
clear,
that is the
footwork, get the
thing.
ball out. Everything else, Bagent is needing to watch Fields. It's the other way around. The arm
Collins.
talent's just not there
No,
for whatever
it's
it's
not.
worth. I still
No.
don't see enough of it.
I got a thought on that in a second, but just I know Collinsworth gushes about the greats like Aaron Rodgers. You couldn't
Yeah,
say enough
our
about Aaron
irritation with
Rodgers.
him started with all his Aaron Rodgers stuff. At least mine did.
But this is a backup Division II undrafted rookie who had played one game, and Collinsworth sounded like he was talking about Rodgers or Brady or pick your next guy that he's over the top about. That was just gross. It was when he compares. Are we
But just
looking
not
at the?
calling the game in front of him, right? It's like we
No,
talk about coaches needing to call the game in front of him, but NBC didn't. He
no,
wasn't
they
good
did
that
not.
day.
No, he was not.
He should have had 3 or 4 interceptions. Although I do think the second one is at least 50-50 on Mooney.
Well,
I'm just like watching it, and they're just like in love with him, and I'm like, he's a solid backup, which on the cheap is a big win for the Bears. What are they talking
yep,
about
yep.
past that? And then they dropped apparently in the fourth quarter that line about Fields. The coaches will want Fields to watch this, and it's like, wait.
Yeah.
Have you lost your mind?
They're very naive and stupid people.
And there's something to this guy, and then he throws a pick. Or no, he threw the ball into like triple coverage that should have been picked. But it's just like what are we doing here?
To this whole like, and I don't know if the coaches fed him the line. Maybe they did. It wouldn't really change it that much for me. I still want the coaches gone.
Oh sure,
They could endorse Justin Fields to the moon and back, and I'd still want them gone.
But it makes you think that they don't, and is that going to be leveraged into? Oh, we just need to get our guy in here. I need to get Caleb Williams or Drake May, and then I'll be able to. You're not going to be able to rein in Caleb Williams. He's more of a freelancer than Fields is. I mean, that's his thing. He's a playmaker. He's not going to sit there and. So anyway,
and I will say I was very high on Caleb Williams coming into this season, but seeing some of the more recent games and that tendency to hold the ball, and I might have holds the ball too long PTSD, but I think I might pick May over Williams as we sit here. Plenty of time for it to play out. May looks like Herbert, and I love Herbert's game. So, but I don't want to do any of that if I'm not resetting the coaching staff.
Right.
GM, I'm willing to maybe. I think the best thing they could do is clean sweep. Get rid of all of them. The worst thing they could do is continue to bring the coaches back, draft a QB, fire the coach next year, and just rinse repeat. I've just said it 100 times, and here's why we bring it up. I hate to break it to everyone. Ryan Poles gave him a huge endorsement Wednesday when he had met the media. It wasn't like he was going to clown all over his coach in the media in the middle of the year. But it was more than just, we support Matt and everything he's doing, and we trust Matt to move this thing forward. That would have been generic. But he's like, I still, I love Coach Flus. You guys don't see every day how much he studies everything and how he just keeps working and how hard they're working. And, teams that lose sometimes give up and there's no quit. You can watch that. There's he goes on for 2 paragraphs.
He does.
And my first reaction was yeah, of course he's going to endorse him. But he endorsed him so much that I'm kind of like, okay, if Warren doesn't fire both of them, I'm not convinced at this moment Poles would fire Eberflus. But Warren might fire both of them.
That's where Warren would. Yes, that's where Warren would have to step in if Poles is like, nope, I'm running it again with Eberflus, and then hopefully Warren would say, no, you're not. Pack your bags.
So we got 9 games left, right? Let's be really optimistic just for the discussion.
Okay.
The schedule is pretty light, especially with the Vikings basically broken into pieces.
Yep.
Let's say the Bears go 4-5.
Wow.
So 6-11 is the record. Double the wins. That's progress. I can hear it now. Overall record is 9-25.
Yes.
And the Raiders just fired their coaches, right? We're really going to run it back in a hypothetical where they're 9-25.
Now, the one thing that gives me hope about Poles, and you mentioned this in a text to me during the week, is that Poles did not say anything about wins and losses. So he still could, at the end of the year, say, yes, all those things about Eberflus were true. However, it comes down to wins, and we just didn't win enough, and because of that, we need to make a change. That window is possible.
That's still possible.
Because I went back and listened to it 2 or 3 times. He says nothing about outcomes of the games with Eberflus. I mean,
it's all the weekly process.
Yes. So
isn't that weird? They're so obsessed with Monday through Friday, and they don't care about Sunday based on their comments because they can't say anything good about Sunday.
There was a great quote from Eberflus about that, about his tactics. It's like, tactics, they're even important on Sunday. Didn't he say something like that?
How about at the end of his praises, his shiny new toy, Montez Sweat? It's great practice player.
He
Look,
can't
man, I don't
stick
think high school
around.
coaching experience helps that much, but my 2 years doing that, yeah, it's important to practice well. We never were like, huh, I don't know why this kid's not playing better on Friday. He's a great practice player. Like, come on, he's just such a dork.
He can't stick around. He can't be here next year. He just can't.
He can't. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna have a really hard time wanting to talk about this team on a weekly or even bi-weekly basis if this guy's the coach again next year. This is rough enough as it is.
There it
But you
is.
understood they weren't going to fire him after 1 year when they were rebuilding.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, like, the only way it makes any sense is if they do go on a really good run and they all of a sudden look better, which, come on, they're not going to do that. And if they do, it's because the schedule's soft.
Yeah. There
Tell
was
you what,
this.
you beat the Lions one of those games and you clean up on the bad teams, and I'll leave the door open for the conversation. I'll consider it as a possibility without being totally irate. But you know what they're going to do against the Lions?
Get killed.
Get their brains beat in. You know what they're going to do Sunday against the Saints? Game
Whoa.
preview time. Get their
Hey,
brains beat in.
it's Bagent's third game, man. It's going to be clicking now. No, not really. I don't think so.
And then we got what? Panthers left and
Thursday
Falcons and the
night. Yep.
Vikings again. And who else is on the schedule? Green Bay's back one more game.
Well, so there's
So
one
like,
more
yeah,
win
there's
for
some
Green Bay.
potential wins there. There are some wins that, yeah, boy, isn't that going to be a weird thing
Yeah.
at the end of the year where you're like probably rooting for Green Bay to beat the Bears because of the draft?
And the
Oh,
Packers
no.
and the Packers are going to be like, "No, Bears, please win," because they're Jordan Love's bad, man. He's awful.
Both
He's
teams on
so
first down are just going to
terrible.
lateral it to the opponent's
Woo.
defensive end. Just try not to score.
Their game
Here
last
you
week.
go. No, you take it back. Nobody wants the ball.
Last week, the
They
announcer
suck.
said
The
they
Packers are
do.
terrible.
The announcer for their game said, "Now Green Bay is a second half team." It's like, yeah, they usually put up a solid 13 points in the second half, and usually referee assisted, but that's besides the point. But yeah, they are brutal. Another
They
question,
they legitimately, offensively at least, are maybe worse than the Bears.
which is amazing. Can I ask
Yeah.
you
I mean,
this?
who knew that a first-year starter with a bunch of second-year players and rookies was a bad idea? Who could have told them this?
Yes.
But
Quarterback.
people have Christian Watson as Randy Moss at the start of the year. He has 117 yards or something.
Yeah. Does he have any TDs? One,
Oh
two,
man.
one
One.
TD.
I,
Yeah.
I want them, by the way, they need to win a few times because I don't like how obvious this is that they need a new quarterback. I want them to be suckered by the current quarterback for longer.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Speaking of quarterback, the first two games Fields missed. They didn't announce it or didn't make it official until Friday of the week if he was going to be out or not. Flus said it
Yeah.
Monday that Fields is out and that Baden's going to start again. Do you read anything into that, or is he just not going to try to pull one over on the other team at this point anymore, or is he committed to
I have no idea what
Bagent?
to make of it. I did think it was weird.
Yes.
Well, I don't think Fluce is really even the vote here. It's Getsy, and he probably defers to him, perhaps. But Getsy likes the stuff Bagent does. He's running Getsy's offense, so it's on the table and off the table and all the other things about Matt Eberflus's table that they actually prefer Bagent. And I also think they're that dumb.
What's wrong with you people?
Oh, this team. Oh my goodness. So does Getsy really think Bagent is better though? Like, I know a lot of meatball
Not
fans
necessarily
think that,
better at football. I think he might prefer how he runs his offense.
but he's committing career
I
suicide.
don't
isn't
know.
he?
I just think they're of course, but they're dumb enough. Listen to the way they talk about their team. They're the little engine that could. Well, by golly gee, they don't give up.
He's
Golly
never-
gee willikers, look how hard they practice. I mean, they're so stupid about the results that I'm not convinced that they actually see that this guy doesn't have the arm talent to start over Fields. I think Fields is still the starter. I think it's a possibility that Getsy likes Bagent better because of how he runs, quote, Getsy's offense. And Fields doesn't run it well. That much is accurate.
Right. He puts up 40 points and 8 touchdowns in 2 games. So we don't
Yeah,
want
and the
that.
whole thing with the Thursday game, yeah, well, that's just it though. His best game was when they couldn't coach as much that week.
So there's another chance this week against Carolina Thursday night.
Think they're going to play him on a short week?
I
I
guess
just think
that's
it was
not
really weird that Bagent played much worse, and yet the endorsement for him starting came immediately.
immediately the
And
next
I'm like, am I
day.
taking crazy pills? He had a bad game. I don't
That
know how people think he had a good game. I'm totally lost by that,
no nobody thinks he had a good game that matters. Nobody does. In a
except for maybe the
couple
coaches.
I suppose they do matter, yes.
I just don't know
But
how they possibly ruled him out so soon when you make a good point, when they strung it along. And Eberflus loves the mind games. They all do. Every coach loves to tell you nothing about injuries until he absolutely has to. So why did they declare it so soon? That's a fair question.
that it makes me nervous about what they're seeing or not seeing. And don't the players have to at some point uh something's gonna slip, right? To a reporter or something at some point in a couple weeks if Bajent is still playing, it's gonna be this he's a great kid and we love him, but we're just not getting the production that we need to win games. You know what I'm saying? Do they actually think Bajent's gonna win games for them? Or just run their offense
I have
better?
no idea. Well, I
He,
mean, it's possible Fields is still hurt. I'm not saying that this is like 100%. You asked the question, it made me think about it, and I thought, trying to spur the moment, like, well, I could totally see them liking Bagent's style better and running the offense. These guys think that what they do will work if only the players will, and here's the magic word that we hear every week,
I just
execute better.
Yep, that's I was just
It's
gonna yep.
never the coach's fault. That's
Right.
reason number one. I want them fired.
Yes.
They always punt it to the players every
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yep. How
And then
about
they wax on about, and not wax eloquently, just ramble about accountability and leadership and culture, and they don't do any of it themselves. I agree, having worked at a place where culture was, well, rather iffy, that the workplace culture can be very important. I do not think that these guys have any idea what it means on a football team. And I think on a football team, it's pretty much totally wiped off the board based on wins and losses anyway. Good culture when you're winning, bad culture when you're losing. It's a little different than most workplaces. So I'm not saying culture is totally irrelevant. I'm saying every time they talk about it, it makes me want to roll my eyes. They just fired the running backs coach, whose unit was probably playing as well as any on the team,
Yep.
for a violation that required HR, so like code of conduct or something. And then in his remarks about it on Wednesday, Matt Eberflus said they have a great culture still. I mean, I don't think any other team in the league has removed 2 coaches in the middle of the season. By the way, we got 9 weeks to go, right? We're like halfway home. What's next?
Who's the next
Andrew
coach?
Janoko supported Russia in Ukraine or something? I mean, where are we going here? Like, what can be what? Let's take it up another notch, all right? I'm kidding, of course, but like this season has the stories and the drama and the QB stuff and the coaching stuff has been well past a season's worth of stories already. I feel
Yeah.
like we never get to talk about what happened on the field.
There's nothing to talk about. Or not much at
Yeah,
least.
I mean they stunk Sunday. I don't know what else there is to recap.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of that when Eberflus is saying their culture's good? It's not that I think culture's not important. I just think it means they don't know what they're talking about, or they're just totally oblivious to it. Something's off here, big time, and being nice and smiling and acting like everything's fine isn't going to fix it.
Disconnected from reality. That's what I see. Because how can
And
you
then Poles tried to explain it as, go ahead.
No, you bring polls up. That's what I was going to get eventually here. Is that he gave a better explanation. But
He sure did.
why is your good buddy Alan Williams? How did you not know that there were issues with him, or maybe you didn't know him like you thought you did? But I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's like it falls on you. You're the head coach. You brought these guys in. You are accountable for this. If it happens once, Okay, that maybe that's understandable. But the second one in a year, you start to raise your eyebrow and be like, what's actually going on here? And
Yep.
why does the head coach not
Yep.
see this?
What are they doing that they're getting it wrong when they vet them?
Yes.
I think the
Yes.
league has a problem as a whole with the whole coaching buddy network, though.
Oh, sure.
I mean, we do periodically get like a story of somebody being fired for like another DUI or a second incident of X or whatever. So like that does happen some. But vetting seems to be a problem. And then Poles gets up there and he says essentially, it may look like we have a culture problem, but the fact that we actually get rid of them means we don't. In other places, they may just continue to let this behavior go. So it's actually because we have a good culture that we're getting rid of them. And I'm like, okay, that actually might be for once real accountability, but it does not mean you have a good culture
Right.
because it's still happening.
Yes.
In a good culture, it just doesn't happen. And then, I thought it was also jarring how much better Poles was at explaining literally everything that happened this week compared to
Yes.
anything Flus said.
Right.
Like at some point, since the coach is the mouthpiece during the season, I would really like the Bears to have one who can string together a couple coherent sentences without sounding like a buffoon. Because I just can't help but like, if this is how you communicate with the media, how do you communicate with the players? If you're so slow on your feet to answer media questions, how are you quick enough on your feet to deal with strategy in game? Like, it gives me the impression of a basic coaching processing issue. Everybody talks about it with the quarterback, but for example, how do we not try at the end of the first half against the Raiders to get some points? They were totally unprepared for the fact that they could get the ball back. You've got to be better than that because there will be a game that matters, theoretically, and that part of the game will matter. And in that game, it didn't matter, but you were completely unprepared for it. They're slow on the take a lot. And when I hear him talk, that all clicks into place. Maybe that's unfair of me, but the basic mental dexterity to do the NFL in-game job well strikes me as a similar skill to answering off-the-cuff questions, not prepared statements, questions. And Poles is like hitting it out of the park, honestly, in the press conferences. And Eberflus, like, you almost feel bad for him, like he's so in over his head.
You're just analyzing the data, my friend. I don't think you're reading too much.
I don't want to read too much into it, but it's.
I don't think you are.
Goodness. Can we just like at least preview something?
Sure.
Can we talk a little bit about? All right, Bears at Saints. The Bears haven't won at the Superdome since I believe 1991.
Oh, I was gonna guess 1986, my friend, but
I am gonna go out on a limb and say that does not change.
No, this is the best defense that Bagent will probably face, and he'll probably look fine doing those little 2-3 yard outs, getting the ball out in half a second. Great. But what's going to become of that? Any points? Probably not. But, maybe 225 yards, something like that. 17 points max.
Are they the best defense they play the rest of the way?
Detroit,
the Saints might be the best defense
better?
on the schedule, depending on Detroit's like secondary, right? Like the line's good,
right? That Detroit line, though.
I mean, but the Saints have good players at all three levels, which I don't really know that the other defenses do. So this is a big test for the Getsy Bagent Bears. And I've got them failing spectacularly. 26-10 Saints. Somehow the Bears get a TD. Throw one in there.
Yeah, I'm going to go 27-13 Saints. I just don't see how they're going to be able to score. Yeah. What's the line? I don't know what the line is.
8.5.
Oh, again.
8.5.
8.5 to the Saints.
And it's not favoring the Bears, everyone.
Wow.
It's the same line as last week.
Same exact line.
Well, we saw how that turned out.
Yeah, and you're playing a worse team offensively than Herbert and the Chargers. Wow. Yeah.
But a better defense. So that's basically a wash, I guess, for Vegas. That those two things equal out, and the Bears still get blown out is their prediction. And I think they're probably right. Okay, live from Germany at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Miami at Kansas City. What a matchup over there before you're awake.
You know what? I'm going to go with Miami in that game. I am not a believer in Kansas City this year. They've just had too
Their
many.
offense isn't that good.
It's not clicking.
Isn't that weird?
Even with Mahomes, it is not clicking. Maybe it's their new
Their
offensive
defense might be the most
you know?
underrated unit in the league, though.
Yeah.
Their defense is playing great.
Yeah, but Miami...
I think Miami is very tempting because I do think they're more talented right now. They're playing better. And the only thing that gives me pause is they don't ever beat the teams like this. They keep struggling to win these kind of games, right? Their 2 losses are Bills and Eagles.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe the Chiefs are angry after last week.
But since it's not a true home game, that's not a factor. I think I'm going to pick Miami as well. I just hope it's fun.
Yes, nice.
All right, other games around the NFC North. This might be worse than the Bears game. Minnesota starting I don't know who at quarterback versus the Falcons, who will be starting Washington legend Taylor Heineke.
Oh boy.
The Vikings just traded for Josh Dobbs. Is he going to really play the first week with the new team?
Who else?
No.
Who else is going to play?
I mean, there's the rookie, whatever his name is, from BYU. I can't remember his name. And then Mullins is on the IR too. Yeah. That's their actual backup. So this is going to be like, this could be like funny bad. And I got to say, as much as Atlanta doesn't really impress me all that much, I think they win this one based on those circumstances. Cousins was playing legitimately like an MVP.
He was.
For all the shade he gets.
Very well. Yeah.
He's great at getting the ball out. He distributes it well. He's accurate. He is playing really well. He kept that thing afloat with Jefferson hurt. And now it's just too much. Okay, then you got Rams. Matthew Stafford is, I think, still a game time decision at Packers. Packers favored by 3, which tells me that Vegas thinks Stafford's not playing.
Yeah.
I think if Stafford plays, you go with the Rams, and if he doesn't, you can totally see the Packers winning on the strength of their defense. A really ugly game, right?
Yeah, I think that's right. That sounds accurate. Yeah. Plus, Green Bay's lost 4 in a row. They're at home. I could see them beating a Staffordless Rams team. Yeah.
I mean, at some point, you just do get your win. Just ask the Bears. All right. Then there's 2 other really great matchups. Dallas at Philly and Buffalo at Cincy. From 8:30 to 7:20 starts, we've got a good game in every window. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
it's a good week. Actually, I don't know. Oh, yeah, we got Seattle-Baltimore in the noon window. So, like, if you want to watch real football, it's there for you all day. I don't think we have time to pick them with any depth, but I'm going to take Philly, and I'm going to take the Bengals. I think Burrow's back, and they're on a roll.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are back, too. Yep. So, yeah. All right, I'll wrap it up, man. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Have a good weekend. Try to not get too ill watching the Bears. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.
The Bears. The Bears are who we thought they were.
My Chicago Bears.
I love the Bears.